Bienvenidos a todos y a todas a este nuevo encuentro de Aguilar Film Festival. Hoy tenemos un encuentro muy especial, bueno, por varios motivos, por los invitados, por el tema que vamos a tratar y también porque, bueno, es una mesa redonda internacional y, bueno, para agilizar y confiando en que tampoco os cause un gran problema, a partir de nada vamos a comenzar a hablar únicamente en inglés porque, bueno, pues vamos a tener unos 45 minutos para esta conversación y si nos ponemos a traducir creo que nos íbamos a quedar en muy poquito tiempo para todas las cuestiones interesantes que vamos a tener. So I have explained that the talk will be in English this time, and the reasons because we decided to do it. And I would like to introduce the two guests that we have here in this panel. One side, because I have one side in my screen, is like a boxing ring. In one side, we have Enrico Vannucci, that he is a programmer in several festivals and events like Venice Film Festival and also Torino Show Film Market. He also works as distributor with a company called Varicolored. We have a special program of Varicolored distribution company in the festival this year. You can find it in festhome.tv. And in the other side, we have Matt Lloyd. He is the director of a Glasgow Short Film Festival. He also has curated the screening This is Scotland, a brief selection of recent Scottish films, short films that you also can find in festhome.tv. So I invite all of you to visit the website of the festival and also the Fest Home channel in order you can find the programs and all the other programs of the festival. You can watch the films until Sunday 13th, so I hope you enjoy them. Today we are going to talk about the new situation, the new normality, or what you can call it, because we think that the festivals have changed a lot this year. We had a lot of troubles and a lot of new circumstances that sometimes have been, as I said, different or new challenges, new opportunities, and also new barriers we have to cross. And I like that Enrico and Matt share with you also their experience, their opinions, and also we can talk about the way that they look forward 2021, because everyone, I think, believe that these kind of changes, some of them will be maintained next year, and even more of them we will be extended forever in the festival's routine or so. So Enrico, can you explain as a little introduction how did the COVID and the pandemic and other situations derived by this problem have changed the festivals or the events where you work?
So first of all, good morning, and well, thank you for the invitation. I have to say that I had two very different experiences regarding my roles this year, because I worked for Venice as the advisor for short films, and Venice was one of the few festivals that was lucky enough to actually happen for real in September. It was like this month between end of August, mid-September, where a few festivals managed to really happen on site. And then instead, I had a totally different experience with Torino Trophy Market that finished a couple of weeks ago. And instead, it was totally online. We were supposed to have a very, very small, tiny section for Italian only in Torino, but then the pandemic again resurged, and so we had to cancel that as well. So it was only online. So I had these two different ways of like working. And I have to say that anyway, the most the biggest impact that I had during this year was the fact of not being able to travel, and that was it's like essential to my work, because most of my work is made in order to find new products and new talents mostly, so new films, and going to place, festival to festivals helps you a lot in meeting people and knowing them, and find out what's going to happen, what's new. And this was totally cancelled. Luckily enough, I mean, like festivals reorganize themselves in events as well, on online, in the online world, and so we were able to. I was able, with also our colleagues, to attend online festivals, online markets, online, one-on-one meetings, or roundtables. But anyway, it was not the same thing. It was not that. I mean, in the end, you can do the same work, let's say, but there's a lot of things that you miss. That are the brief, not scheduled encounters that you have by chance because somebody introduced you to somebody else or stuff like that. But it seems silly, but it's very important if you want to find out, what's new around the world. So more or less, I had these two different experiences.
So in your case, Matt, you are now preparing the next edition of the Glasgow Short Film Festival. Can you tell us a little about the experience of this year and how is going the next edition?
Yeah, so our festival is in March, and so naturally we were one of the first festivals to have to cancel this year. We kind of watched with increasing trepidation the wave of closing festivals. We thought we might just slip under the wire. I think like Tampere did just before us. But then when Shortwaves in Poland, which has the same dates as us, when they cancelled, we realised it was inevitable, and so we had to cancel our festival at 5 days' notice. In some ways, this was kind of a positive thing, because for us, in that there was no choice in the matter. We didn't. There was no time to kind of turn it around into an online event immediately, and I kind of feel for a lot of the short film festivals who were due to take place in April, because there was enough time for them to put on an online festival, but very little time. So whereas we had a very small presence online during our original dates. We put one film a day online, or two films, thanks to the generosity of the filmmakers. But we announced new dates that week as well. We announced new dates in August, which at the time we thought would be a live event, but soon it became clear that that wasn't to be. But that meant that we had several months to see how other festivals went online, and to kind of steal ideas from them, or to improve on their ideas and create our own event. And so we again, by a slightly unfortunate but ultimately positive coincidence. Our new dates also took place at the same time as Shortwaves, but that meant we were able to collaborate in some ways. And I can talk, as the discussion goes on, I can talk about the positives of the online experience, but just to keep my answers short for now, we're now in this slightly depressing position, perhaps, in that we're due to take place again in March, and it's looking quite possible that we'll be one of the last festivals to be online. So one of the very few festivals to have to go online twice. But we our hope, our aim is to have some live screenings, both in Glasgow itself, but also across the whole of Scotland, simultaneously in other venues. So we'll make up for the reduced capacity in cinemas by using many more cinemas, and also by taking the festival to other cities at the same time. It's sort of capitalizing on one of the benefits of the online experience, which was to reach a wider audience for short film than physically the people who are able to attend your festival in your city.
Thank you. Do you think that the festivals went online have implicated that the festival has changed a little the way that they select the films, or if in the next months there will be some kind of changes? I mean, some festivals ask for international, national premiere, but now it could be more difficult to have this kind of premiere. A lot of filmmakers decided to stop the distribution because they didn't want to premiere the festival at the end of the year, or in one moment in an online way, but they prefer to wait until the festival will be present physically again. Have you noted some kind of changes in this way of programming?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really big question. With many different things to talk about, but one, just in our own experience, we were expecting to receive far fewer submissions for the 2021 festival. We'd spoken to colleagues earlier in the year who were seeing a drop by 2/3 of submissions, and so we prepared as best we could by lowering our submission fees and extending the window of eligibility. And we've actually seen an increase of almost double our submissions. And I think possibly that's largely because a lot of filmmakers, as you say, were holding back on submitting their films to autumn festivals, and had decided at a certain point that things were going to clear up in the new year, or possibly that they just there was no point in waiting any longer, because everyone is open. So from that point of view, as I say, we're trying to have as many of our competition screenings to be both online and live. But it worries me what it might mean for 2022, whether we'll see the effects of a drop in production taking place this year. In other ways, in terms of programming, one element of the online experience is it's really freed us up in terms of curation. We don't have to think purely in terms of 80-minute programs. I mean, I love an 80-minute program. I love putting together a program. It's the best part of my job. But the online experience for many people is that they don't have 80 minutes of focused time to watch a program, and so it's freed us up to
No, I mean, no, I think I agree. I think it's also, I don't know, I'm trying to think from the point of view of people attending festivals. At least for me, as somebody that works into this world, it's been kind of difficult to follow every festival's going online as well, because basically you try to follow some things, but at the same time, sometimes happened that we had like very packed weeks with a lot of events, and where you were, I mean, at least I was jumping from one event to the other, and then of course you miss something, or at least you have the feeling of missing large part of each one of these events, and which is something that doesn't happen when you are in a physical event where you're totally there for at least 2-3 days, and even though of course you can't see everything or you don't attend all the events, but you're in a place and you have this feeling of being there with other people and sharing something. While when you're home, I mean, there is it's you alone in front of a screen or with somebody else if you lucky to be with one, or but that's it. So and moreover, when you're home, you're not only working or watching films of an event, but also you're working on other stuff. So and then you have your life. So it's a mix of things, and it's not very helpful sometimes. So it becomes kind of tricky, I would say, to be focused and also I like feel that you have achieved something sometimes. I mean, I had this kind of like always been having doubts about, but have I done enough or not for for my job, for what I do, and at the same time, for other people, in case of, like, for instance, for Torino Show Free Market, for me, I think that event was kind of successful in a way, but still not seeing the people, not having the feedbacks live. It's something that it's always tricky to judge, and even though then you speak with people later date to ask for feedbacks, for user experiences and stuff, and at least for me were quite positive, but yeah, like you don't have that immediate feeling of like, oh yeah, it's going well, or no, it's not going. So I think that was like one of the trickiest parts to understand.
Focusing on 2021, it's quite possible that festivals in next year will have two formats, physically and online. Do you think that this way of festivals will be maintaining in time more than a year or a couple of years? That if the online format will be a part of the festivals for the future?
Can I go? Yeah, yeah, I think so. At least, in my opinion, maybe not for all the festivals, I guess that, you know, big A-list festivals, you know, are totally different thing. Also, they're not, you know, they're not representative of the whole industry, especially the short film, because they are totally something, you know, different. So probably they will try to, you know, go back to the old glory days. But I think that short film festivals and the short film industry will try to adapt in this at least hybrid form. I mean, this is what we are going to do with Torino, and well, at least the idea is that next year, for 2021, is to hopefully have a real event happening, but at the same time to have an online event as well alongside the proper market in Torino, and we will try to connect the two in ways where we are trying to find out at this very moment. Because also I think that especially for an event like a market, having the ability not, you know, to be there in a way and to participate, watching panels, listening to pitches or stuff like that, and meeting people without moving from your place, it might be good, especially if you have to come from very far away. So it's good for the environment, it's good for your you know, budget, and probably it would be you know, it's an added layer, and for us as well. Like this year we had guests, let's say, coming or attending from countries that we have never had before. So it was a positive experience in not a positive year, I would say. So I think that if, like, most of the people want to again experience the real thing, but at the same time it might be interesting. And as well, as I said before, when you're in a festival, you're there and you're attending, you know, the festival or the event fully. But then if at the same time there is another event happening somewhere else, like this year, like Glasgow and Showwaves, at the same time you can, you know, take 1 hour, 2 hours to dedicate to the other festival as well, if it is something that it's happening in the other event that interests you. So maybe you can't leave those you know, with the same experience, but you can choose, and so you have a broader choice, and that you can build yourself, your schedule, let's say.
Okay, Mike, would you like to add something to this point?
Yes, yeah. I mean, I think Enrico covered a lot of them. That there are definite advantages to the online experience, particularly for a smaller festival. Like Glasgow is relatively small in terms of the international circuit, but also locally in terms of, you know, Glasgow, the city, is a big city with a wide cultural offer, and a short film festival is quite a niche event. So the online experience has allowed us to reach a wider international industry audience, but also to reach an audience across the UK, and not just rely on our local audience. Another advantage, well, related, I suppose, is that of access. We are able to provide subtitles for deaf or hard of hearing audiences for everything we showed. Obviously, for people who are not mobile, who can't attend cinemas, we were able to reach them. And a lot of feedback we got from our audience in August was particularly about this element. I mean, it was interesting that we found we gained new audiences, but also a lot of our regular audience perhaps didn't attend the online event because it was the height of summer. It was when the lockdown had eased a little bit, but we were seeing new attendances from people who would love to come to Glasgow Short Film Festival, but physically can't. Again, as Enrico said, we were able to reach speakers that we wouldn't otherwise be able to access or afford. And we had far greater participation from our filmmakers in terms of every film in competition had a recorded Q&A. Normally we'd only be able to rely on the filmmakers who can actually attend. So it does, by normalizing these elements, it has widened the scope of the festival. And interestingly, it sort of, in some ways, it levels the playing field between the larger festivals and the smaller festivals a little bit. Once this online element has become normal, the way you present yourself through social media, through your online hub, it's a great leveler, I suppose. I think that covers that question.
Okay. You said before that one of the situations that generates the moving to online formats is that there are now a lot of film festivals happening at the same time, or every week we have several film festivals development in the different platforms. I think that this could be also a real challenge, because we have to competing to have the audience in our festival. When in the same platform you have 5 or 6 or 7 film festivals happening at the moment, and people watch one film in one, then move to another festival. Do you think that as festivals, we have to find ways of collaboration in order to eliminate the competition between festivals, in order we can have best offer, best services for the audience, and also to try to not to saturate people with a lot of festivals at the moment, or with the same conference in a lot of festivals that we are talking about similar things. Do you think that it would be possible to find a way to collaborate between festivals? Because sometimes it's not so easy.
I can answer that. So a couple of examples, I think, our own experience with shortwaves in August, I think worked really well in that we shared 2 panels. So we each contributed some speakers, and the events were streamed live both on our hubs and on Facebook. And these were discussions that we both festivals would have had anyway, but it seems crazy to kind of replicate them and share them. And we also had a program exchange. But looking forward, I think there are ways which festivals can collaborate in terms of timing and location. I was really excited by the collaboration that was planned between Hamburg and Vienna, and I think Warsaw, where they were synchronizing their industry programs so that people attending one could very easily travel between the festivals. I think Enrico touched on travel at the outset of this conversation, and I think travel is a huge subject going forward. We really have to think about our footprint on the planet, and obviously we do need to travel. It is important for our jobs, but this whole experience has demonstrated that you can continue to survive without, whilst radically reducing your travel. So to have these kind of physical, kind of very concrete collaborations between festivals, where they all benefit, each festival benefits in that they strengthen their attendance by making it easier for attendees to go from one to the other, and perhaps for conversations that start at one festival to then continue at the next festival. It seems much more sustainable to do things that way. I mean, this is a thorny subject, I guess, at the best of times for the UK, because it's harder for us to get to mainland Europe without flying. And of course, now we've got this little thing called Brexit coming, which is going to make our lives even harder on that front, both in terms of getting to other festivals, but also in terms of bringing people to our festival. You know, I wouldn't blame people if they decided never to come to the UK ever again, because it's just going to be more trouble than it's worth. You know, we already knew what that experience was like for filmmaker guests from outside the EU, particularly from Asia or Africa, and if our guests from the EU are going to have the same experience, then that's going to have a big impact on us. So so these questions of travel and how to do it sustainably, and how to how to ensure a kind of a meaningful and healthy attendance at your festival, whether it be online or in person, and how those two can interact is got to be at the centre of our thinking. I may have wandered off topic slightly. Not sure.
No, well, I agree with Matt, I would say. I mean, yeah, I don't have much else to say actually, but I don't know. Yeah, I think the environment it's very an important issue, and that we need to tackle at. Especially in Europe, maybe it's easier in continental Europe to travel from place to place, especially because, you know, trains, or, you know, you can have, you know, several people in a car traveling around, or from festival to festival. But on the other end, I mean, like, there are, even in continental Europe, there are, you know, places that are too far away to travel just by car or by train, so you need to take a plane. But you definitely can reduce your footprint. And I think it's the next challenge, the big next challenge for events, of festivals. And I think that the pandemic just really accelerated this process that started to become real in recent years, but the pandemic just you know showed that it's possible to maybe renounce to something or somebody, because it doesn't make sense to fly somebody from, I don't know, Asia or of America, not for itself. I mean, for just one panel, doesn't make sense. You can do it online, and you know, it's better for the environment. It's better for the budget of the festival as well. So, but on the other end, like, if you spare money on let's say travels, then it's money that you can invest instead in digitalizing the festival, because having a blended festival, having a hybrid festival or a hybrid event, it definitely it will cost a lot more money, because you have to set up like proper live streaming. It's like, you know, setting up a small television studio for 4 or 5 days, which costs money, of course. So, but if you can reduce the budget on travel expenses, for instance, especially for very far away international guests, then you might invest the same amount of money instead of in preparing for an hybrid event that works for everybody.
Can I jump in there and just say, actually, one of the things we found is that it's actually you can do this very cheaply. I mean, you don't have to set up a mini TV studio. And in fact, this has been one of the great experiences for us with our festival, is that every aspect of it we did on a very small budget. And I watching some of the festivals, some of the big festivals who've kind of tried to replicate the whole festival experience in terms of live streaming a big glitzy award ceremony and having kind of high glossy production values. I find it quite deadening and quite boring online. I don't personally want to sit and watch an award ceremony online, and so for me, that money that you save on travel, I'm more excited about finding ways to spend it on supporting the filmmakers, even more, like paying better screening fees, paying speaker fees, paying juries. I think, there's different ways to look at how to spend the money you might save from flights and accommodation.
But can I ask you? I mean, like, because in my experience, well, we didn't spend much money in Torino for the event, because basically we used Zoom and everybody was home with their computer, so it was very kind of cheap in that sense. But when you have to start, when you have this kind of event where it's happening live somewhere, so we have to have like cameramen and kind of small studio to stream and stuff, at least from the cost that we were asked to pay in case they were like kind of high, I would say. So how you explain the fact that you said that you didn't spend much money on that, but kind of interesting to know how.
Sure. Well, I suppose our only live events were done through Zoom, and other than paying a designer to create a nice, attractive skin around the image, and we had a single technical guy at our end. When we worked with Shortwaves, I think they had a slightly bigger team, but in terms of live events, it was, we kept it very simple. We had some other things that we filmed in advance of the festival, either just filming ourselves with whatever equipment we had to hand. We're very lucky that we share an office with a production company who have a cupboard full of toys to play with. But our opening event was probably our biggest single spend this year, which was a sort of a single shot fun opening ceremony, which we called in a lot of favors for that. Let's say we spent £750, I think, kind of €900, something like that on it, and that was a one-time only. We wouldn't do anything like that again. I don't think. It was just sort of, I think, because we'd sat on this program that had been due to go out in March, and we were holding it back until August, and we were sort of aware that at that point everyone was sick of the online environment, and we just wanted to do something which expressed that. So we found we had a lot of goodwill from local production people and filmmakers and performers who had also been sitting around doing nothing for several weeks. So we were lucky on that front. I'll certainly admit to that. But yeah, it was a fun thing to do that maybe wouldn't be repeated.
Thank you. I've got one last question for you. It's clear that the online solutions split out the possibilities of all the activities and the industry panels, teachings, and other kind of meetings between professionals. Also could help to could help to have some kind of encounters with filmmakers and audience. But do you think we have to work more next years in order to create new audiences? Because we have this kind of festivals in a hybrid format for the future, and this could be a challenge for add some kind of people that didn't used to go to the venues, but now we have a new opportunity to to join this new audiences to the festivals through the platforms.
Yeah, I think certainly we're gaining. If I understand your question correctly, I think certainly we've gained new audiences, which I hope we'll be able to hold on to. I suppose I have a concern over the international attendance, industry attendance, in that, as Enrico was saying earlier, there have been so many festivals that have been overlapping, and it's becoming quite overwhelming. So that I'm getting to the point now where I receive invitations to festivals every week, online festivals, and I'm just ignoring them. So I worry that we will suffer from our attendance for international audience, both online and in person, because of the whole Brexit thing that I mentioned earlier. But in terms of our regular audience, our regular local audience, I hope they will come flocking back to us when we're back in person. I think, if anything, this whole experience has sort of boosted our profile in terms of social media and our identity on social media, and I think it has made us more visible to a Scottish audience, which can only be positive. I think I'm answering your question, but if I'm not, then.
No, yeah. Again, I agree with Matt. I guess I think it probably for many festivals would be good to reconnect with their own local audience, especially if they had to totally cancel the real event and just moved online. And I guess that local audience would be very happy to go back to the cinemas once it would be possible. Because I don't know in Spain or in the UK at the moment, but here in Italy the cinemas are closed. They've been closed again since I think early November now. So, and there is no public discussion at all about when they're gonna open them again. And that means as well theaters and music, and so all this industry is suffering a lot from the closure, which in a way doesn't make sense, because it has been proven that the contagion is not spread inside those venues. I mean, they're not risky if you wear masks and you're distanced inside cinemas, inside the theaters. But at the same time, so once it will be possible again to go back, I think people will be, very much happy to do it, and festivals might benefit from it when it's going to happen, because I think that people in the end will missing now the opportunity to go and see films into cinema. I mean, like I was lucky to be at, I was in Shortwaves back in August, and it was my first festival in 6 months probably. It was the last festival was Berlin, and then then nothing happened until late August. So, and being there for the first time in a cinema watching films was like, well, this feels so strange in a way, but at the same time, it's like very moving. And then I went to Venice for the festival, and then another small festival in Italy where I was in the jury, and then again stopped. And I was thinking, well, now probably I have other 6 months where I'm not attending any event or not going to the cinema at all. And that's a pity. And I'm looking forward to go back to the cinema and see films properly. I mean, like. Programmers, as programmers, we are really used to watch films on a computer, even a small laptop, and assess those. But it's not the same thing. I mean, I always like to watch films that I have, I have to select to, on the big screen and, to see them, let's say, for the first time, because it's a thing. So, and I think the audience as well is like looking forward to going back to cinemas and experience the films again.
Okay, thank you very much. We have no more time, but if you would like to add something or to talk about any point that you think we missed, is your moment. And well, I have to thank you to be here to share with us all the opinions, experiences, and thoughts about the festivals in this year and the next years. I hope we can meet soon physically and have the same fun that other times we met before. I think that this has been a very special year, and for us it's very special to have you here sharing your time with us, and also doing the duty of during the international competition. I hope you have enjoyed. So thank you very much, and see you soon.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Jorge. Thank you.
Y pues nada, aquí ponemos pues punto final a este encuentro. Nada, también recordaros que a partir de la 1 de la tarde tendremos un nuevo encuentro con cineastas que están compitiendo en la competición internacional. Como toda la semana, ya lo sabéis, podéis seguir toda la programación a través de Filming y a través de fesbon.tv hasta el día 13 de diciembre. Y nada, pues toda la información, pues ya sabéis, en www.aguilarfilmfestival.es. Muchas gracias a todos y hasta pronto.